What did ancient people do underground at night? Tonight, when the sun sets, you'll flip a switch. Light will flood the room, and you won't even think about it. But for 99.9% of human history, no such switch existed. And for people who lived in caves, not just sheltered by rocks, but truly living underground, no stars, no moon, no horizon, only sheer, crushing blackness in every direction. Consider that for a moment. Archaeologists have discovered evidence that people have lived in cave systems for hundreds of thousands of years. Sites like Lascaux in France, Altamira in Spain, and dozens of archaeological sites across the Middle East and Africa show that caves weren't temporary shelters. They were homes, long-term multi-generational dwellings carved into the rock. And the question almost no one asks is, what happened inside these caves after dark? The first answer is fire. Without fire, life underground was simply impossible. The earliest confirmed evidence of controlled human use of fire dates back about 1 million years and was found in Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa. Fire wasn't just warmth. Underground, fire was everything. It was the only reason you could see your own hand in front of your face. It was the reason predators didn't stalk you inside. It provided air quality. It provided cooking. It provided light. It was the only technology that made cave life survivable after sunset. But fire underground did something else. Something researchers are only beginning to fully understand. It created an enclosed, enhanced social space. Outside, around an open fire, sound and light diffuse. Inside the cave, they reflect. The walls reflect the light from the fire in such a way that shadows move and dance. Researchers studying cave acoustics, yes, it's a real field, have discovered something remarkable. The deepest chambers of painted caves, those with the most intricate paintings, are also the places where sound resonates most powerfully. Clapping, drumming, or singing in these chambers creates an almost three-dimensional sound. This was no coincidence. Archaeologist Igor Reznikov spent years studying the acoustic properties of painted French caves. His discoveries showed a direct statistical correlation between the density of cave paintings and the acoustic resonance of the specific locations where they were painted. Ancient artists didn't choose walls at random, they chose walls that sang, which brings us to what ancient people actually did underground at night. They performed. Caves weren't just shelters. The deep painted chambers, the ones that required crawling through narrow passages for hundreds of meters, carrying fire to reach, were not living quarters. No one slept near the bison painted 400 meters from the mountain's foot. These halls were visited with purpose. They were the first theaters, the first temples, the first places where people deliberately separated the sacred from the mundane. And art itself tells us something about the night. The cave paintings at Lascaux, Fond de Gaume, and Chauvet are not flat decorations. Painted by flickering firelight on uneven stone surfaces, they were designed to move. Horses' legs overlap in a sequence that, when the firelight plays on them, creates the illusion of running. Bison appear to charge. Deer appear to leap. These weren't just images, they were animations, the first in the world, created 30,000 years ago on limestone walls. The people who observed them weren't passive. They drummed, chanted, inhaled smoke, sat in near total darkness, with only a small flame separating them from nothingness. Researchers studying altered states of consciousness note that sensory deprivation, combined with rhythmic sound and low oxygen levels, conditions naturally present deep inside caves, reliably induces visions, hallucinations, and intense emotional states in modern humans. Ancient people didn't enter altered states underground by accident, they created them. The narrow passages through which one had to crawl to reach the painted halls served a purpose beyond geography. Moving from the wide cave entrance into the depths was a transition. You entered another place. Every culture that has ever used caves for ceremonial purposes, from the ancient Greeks, who built oracles and cave systems, to the indigenous peoples of America and Australia, viewed this passage as a threshold between worlds. But cave life wasn't just ceremonial. For the people who actually lived there, the underground nights also had a practical rhythm, and recent research into pre-industrial sleep patterns has revealed something that changes everything we think about rest. Historian Roger E. Kirch spent 16 years poring over historical records and discovered over 500 references to so-called first sleep and second sleep. Before the industrial age, people didn't sleep in one uninterrupted block. They slept for about 4 hours, woke naturally in the middle of the night, remained awake and calm for 1 to 2 hours, and then fell asleep again until dawn. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Ware of the National Institute of Mental Health confirmed this biologically. He isolated volunteers from all artificial light for a month, providing them with 14 hours of darkness each night. Over the course of several weeks, each participant independently transitioned to the same biphasic sleep pattern. No one told them about it. It simply happened as if this pattern had been waiting inside them all along. During the waking period between the two sleep phases, Ware measured elevated levels of prolactin, the same hormone released during meditation. Participants described an unusual calm, a reverie, almost a dreamlike state. It was a distinct state of consciousness, not quite sleep, not quite normal wakefulness, something in between. For people living underground, that quiet time in the middle of the night would be experienced differently than it is today. No light from a phone, no ambient light from outside, just the last embers of a fire, slowly dying, the sounds of the cave, dripping water, other people's breathing, the occasional distant echo, and your own mind, wandering freely in the darkness. Modern sleep scientists now believe that much of what we call insomnia, the unpleasant sensation of waking at 2 or 3 a.m. and unable to fall back asleep, is not a disorder at all. It's an ancient biological program that still operates in our bodies, even though we've eliminated the environment for which it was designed, and most of us never realized what we lost. The caves still exist, the chambers still resonate when you clap your hands inside them, the paintings still move when you hold the flame close to the wall, but the state of mind for which these spaces were created, that quiet, contemplative darkness between the first and second sleeps, that artificially created threshold between the ordinary world and something more ancient, is now mostly gone. We called it progress.